Hello, my name is Kyren Vasquez, and today I am here with Arvi Kashal, who is the owner of CPC. And I'm going to be conducting a small interview on her so you guys can get a more overall quality and feel of how this company operates. So Arvi, what made you want to start this company?
I like helping students, so I have a passion to see the potential that students have, and I saw that there was a need for helping students get into colleges and universities. And as a former counselor, high school and college counselor, I wanted to go above and beyond just the regular assistance that normal high school counselors do.
So with this company, CPC, College Prep Consultants, what makes you stand out from a company that is similar? I know you said there's not a lot, but there are still some. But so what makes our company stand out in terms of them trying to go to another?
That's a great question. I believe College Prep is definitely a one-stop shop. In the last year and a half, we've expanded quite a bit. We have a team of counselors, 6-7 counselors, with a team of essay correcting experts, as well as ACT, SAT instructors, career assessment. So when we have families that come to us, we can guide them on all the aspects of getting into college.
So you said you're a one-stop shop. Can you explain that further? What do you handle?
Correct. Sometimes college consultants help with just the essays or the applications. We go a little bit past that. So what we do is we run a diagnostics on the ACT and SAT, and then we figure out which test is the best for the student, and then we create a timeline just for the testing. Then we have a team where we help with essay correcting, we help with interviews, we also help with scholarships and help the parents file the FAFSA. So all of these additional services that we have at College Prep, I have not seen something that incorporates everything in another company.
And in terms of quality from our company, what should students and parents alike expect from us?
Quality-wise, all of the members in our team are either current college students or they've already graduated with at least a minimum of a bachelor's. Some of our counselors have a master's, and I'm currently working on my doctorates. So we are a group of highly qualified counselors and consultants that would be working with the family and the student.
So when a parent comes to you, or a student for that matter, and they're not too sure of what they want to do, or they're not too sure if which college to choose, and etc.
Correct.
How do we help them, push them in the right direction, or help them find their grounds?
There's a lot of unknowns when we do have family and students come, and that's where the guidance comes from. That's where we've been able to tweak our practices every year. We now have a survey that we give, so we have a better understanding of what the student wants in terms of what kind of college they're looking for. We also do a career assessment so we can help the student identify a certain major, because that's very important. Parents don't want their child to go off to college and it was the wrong major or it was the wrong environment for the student, and then come back within their first semester. So we try to gather as much information as we can so we can assess and help the student make a better decision.
So earlier you mentioned how you create a timeline for a student, and it seems, or it is, that our company is really highly individualized to whichever student we're helping. So how do we make sure it's individualized? How do we make sure it's not cookie cutter and one student isn't getting the same exact way that the other student had before them?
That's a great question. And when students and parents come to us, there is going to be some things that are going to be the same. Like all the students are definitely applying for college, or they're applying for mostly state schools or UCs, and so things like that. But where it becomes personalized is the essays that they're writing and how their own personal story is going to be told. It also becomes personalized on which test they're going to take, ACT or SAT, and when they should take it. It's going to be personalized with the major that they choose. So if they're medicine or if they're engineering, then they're going to need more subject tests. And when to take them and which subject test to take. It also becomes more personalized on how much scholarships do we need to work on. Sometimes parents are okay when it comes to funding, and the concentration is more on the colleges, in-state or out-of-state. But for some, maybe the goal is let's try to work out as many scholarships as we can.
So for the audience watching, family members, parents, or even people that we've met with recently that are still on the fence, what would you say is going to be, what would you tell them to make that leap into our company?
You mean when they're deciding whether we should go with?
Yeah, if they're on the fence, whether we should go with a college prep consultant or we should stay with a high school counselor.
There's a big difference I believe, between a high school counselor and us. We not only make sure you met the A through G requirement from your school so you can get that high school diploma, we also want to make sure you have that A through G requirement for the colleges. High school counselors may not have enough time to sit down and correct an essay or prep you for a college interview. Sometimes their ratio is 500 to 1, and that's a large load of students to provide that individualized help. What I would say to the parent or the student, if you're deciding whether or not to use a college consultant, is look at all that you still have to do, the classes and the courses you still have to pass in your high school, what you want to major in, what types of schools you want to apply to, because we have the CSU Mentor app that covers all the 23 state colleges. There's no essay required, so if a student only wants to apply to that, it isn't that much work. But if a student says, I want to add some UCs, that's 8 prompts, and you have to answer 4 questions, 350 words each. If they say, well, we want to add some private schools, that includes supplements. So maybe the student should also look at where they want to go, what's their major, and that will give them an idea of how much work is involved in applying to the schools. And if they feel they need that assistance, then give us a call.
So you've been handling CPC for a few years. How would you say
4 years.
How would you say it's transitioned from when you first started to now?
Wow, the first year when I did CPC, my daughter was graduating from UHS, and I was going through this process as a mother as well as a consultant, and didn't have an office at that point, but all my knowledge that I had, I was sharing just with family and friends. I was visiting at clients' homes, which was convenient for everyone, and it was just myself and Sam Hairston, who is our career assessment specialist at that time. And then now it's involved to having an actual physical location for an office, a team of experts and consultants and counselors working together. And so now the student and the parent are going to have a whole team that's behind them in helping their child succeed.
So you mentioned that you went through this process as a parent.
Correct.
And obviously you have a few children as well. How do you treat students in terms of, do you treat them the same way you would treat your kids going through the process? Or if you could elaborate.
I hope my clients feel that way, because I do my best to treat them the way I do treat my daughters. And some of our clients and families have become my own families, and every student that I help, I take it very seriously, and I want them to be successful, because if they're not successful, then I don't feel that I'm as successful. Can I do a shout out to my daughters?
Sure.
To Henna and Isha and Annika and little Jivika. I promised her that I would say hi. Yeah.
So, as a final question, or a question that can transition to more, what are your goals for the next few years for CPC? That way everyone can get a big picture. My
goal is to become nonprofit if I can, to be able to help students in masses, where I could be allowed to come to the high schools, and counselors and administrators can identify those high-achieving students, and we can work with them. It would be to, double my team of experts and be able to create more ACT, SAT classes. We may have maybe 6 that we do a year right now. I'm not quite sure exactly what that number is, but I would like to double that, because our services are all encompassed, and they are a one-stop shop. So if we can provide all of that to more students, then we have a better future where kids are going to get their degrees and be successful.
Well, I don't have any questions left for RV, but if you guys have any more questions, the information is down on the bottom of the screen, and we thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hi, my name is Victor Venegas. I am a marketing specialist for College Prep Consultants, and I'm right here interviewing Amelia, and she's actually a student who went through the process. So, why did you choose CPC?
So initially I chose this company because when I was going through getting ready for senior year, I knew that applying for colleges was going to be a really stressful kind of situation, and I was really stressing about paying for college as well. And so we actually heard from a friend who was like, oh, if you need some help in this, we know someone who can help. And so they're like, we'll help you with your college applications as well as anytime you're trying to fill out scholarship applications.
Yeah. So you heard about us through word of mouth?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty. So would you, did I tell other people about our business then?
Yeah, so after our initial meeting with RV and everyone, that first meeting was amazing, because all of a sudden every concern I had about going into college in my senior year just kind of lifted off of me, and that feeling was amazing. So yeah, I've been telling a lot of people about this whole.
So what were your concerns?
So it was, for the UCs, you have to, the application itself is several pages long,
right.
And so it's just a really long process, and you have to be very meticulous about how you do it, because one wrong thing and it can ruin your whole application. So that was one of my initial concerns, was I need someone who knows this application and knows it well enough to make sure I don't put any errors on the paper.
Yeah. What was the process that you went through in order to go through College Prep Consultants? And how did you actually juggle that, going through high school and also trying to do CPC?
So actually juggling it all was a little difficult at first, just because I'm trying to adjust to my senior year as well as everything else. But it was really nice because the meetings were convenient. So to actually fill out the application, we would go to the office, and RV would schedule time to make sure that it would work for both of us, and then we would meet. And so what we would do is she helped me make all of my IDs for the applications, and then we would go and she would take me through page by page and help me fill out information that I hadn't already filled out.
So were the meetings really insightful?
Yes, they were incredibly helpful. She was able to tell me everything about what the colleges look for, what would really help. She was helping me pull out information that I didn't think was important, like when you go to a certain page, you have to make sure you fill out your activities, and what I didn't think were activities, she would say, no, that's perfect, put that in there. And so that was a really good catch.
So it's something, that's actually pretty good. Well, where are you now then? Where are you now, and are you actually very satisfied with where you are?
Yes, actually. So after this whole long process, I was able to get into the college that I really wanted to get into, and I was really excited for that. And they also helped a lot with scholarship applications. I recently just won the Fresno Unified Scholarship application, and with the people who helped me check over my essay, I felt really confident. And I also won scholarships at my CART high school as well. And without the people who helped me check over my essay, I may not have gotten them.
So did you do a lot of essay correcting with us?
Yes, a lot. It was so helpful. I would write my essay, and then they would say, okay, email it to me. And the response was really fast as well. I think I really liked that, because it was either within the next day or that same day I would get some kind of feedback, and I would go back and forth until they said it looked good, and I really liked it.
So you really liked the way everyone consulted with you?
It was fast and really nice.
So why is it that you would recommend CPC? What exactly? Why would you want to do that?
I would probably say for people who are really concerned about college or just finding scholarship outlets, like finding ways to find the scholarships that you want, RV and this whole program is really good for it because they'll take you through step by step. They'll address all your concerns and they will help you find the scholarships that are best suited for you, and they'll give you really great tools to find that you can use to find scholarships on your own.
Mm-hmm. And what are these tools?
So one of them was called CapEx and FastWebs. I didn't initially know about these, and then as soon as at our first meeting, after we got done talking about college applications, she was telling me, oh yeah, these are really good places and websites for you to use if you're looking for scholarships. And she said they will actually tailor scholarships kind of towards you depending on what you put in your application or like your bio. And so that was really helpful as well.
So what type of scholarship did you get into?
I tend to find a lot of academic scholarships or scholarships that are kind of geared towards my interests, and that was really cool. And some of the ones that I've actually received are academic scholarships. So like the CART scholarships, those were geared towards things that I'm interested in, things I've excelled at in school and stuff.
Yeah. So did you do any internships?
Unfortunately, no. So I kind of came in late. I came in my senior year, whereas like a lot of other people come in early. And so because of that, I actually was put on something like an express. So I had more focusing on my test scores and then my college applications.
Right. Okay. Well, you found everything very insightful, right?
Yes.
That was pretty good. Well, I should have nothing else. Do I have to? I'm sorry. I don't have anything else.
Is there anything you can tell us about anything you want to add?
Oh yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to add for college prep classes?
So because I wasn't able to get in early, I wasn't able to take college classes, but I know that my younger sister is interested in attending as well, and so, or being a part of this whole thing. And it's really cool because RV's like, we'll make sure we get you ahead. So she'll get you ready for college while you're still in high school, and that's really helpful because my high school counselors, unfortunately, they didn't let me know I had this option. So with someone like RV, I can know about this ahead of time and get ahead while I'm in high school.
So how was RV's approach when it came to working with you?
It was super friendly, super professional. Like that first meeting was just a huge relief because again, she laid out everything, like what was expected, what they're known for doing, everything. And it was just, we kind of had like a mental checklist. My mom and I were like, okay, college applications, scholarships, and any other kind of help, like test prep. And as she was going through that meeting, it was kind of like checking off that checklist that we had. And by the end of it, I just remember looking at RV and going, thank you so much for being here because this is something that I really need.
So RV really made you feel comfortable?
Yes.
So with other counselors, how do you compare the way they work with you and how RV works with you?
So it's a little different. So while yes, counselors can like meet with you one-on-one, they don't always have the time or the resources to really look over those essays, make sure those applications are correct completely. A lot of the times, like sometimes students make an error, sometimes counselors will even miss them because they're worrying about so many other students. But with RV, she would say, oh no, like you messed up something here, or this doesn't sound quite right. So with that personalized like meeting, it was easy to make the scholarships clean.
So I'm sure you had a vision when it came to your own higher education. What did RV instill in you?
So she was like, when we first met, it was kind of great because she would ask me, so what are you looking for in college? And so I told her what my goals and aspirations are, and she was like, no, that's really good, now let's see if you can go further with it. And so I was planning on maybe a bachelor's or a master's, and she was like, well, that's a really good goal, how about you go a little bit further, and if you can, maybe go for your PhD. So like all of this together was really good.
It seems as if now you are more comfortable with CPC and the services, but when you first got into it, did you feel intimidated? Was it kind of overwhelming? Was it anything like that?
Initially, no. It's like because it's someone new and I'm trying to get adjusted to it. Of course, it was a little crazy at first, but I felt after that, even after the first meeting, after the initial one that we had, it was super straightforward, super helpful, and I was so relaxed throughout throughout all of it. It was good.
So, what was your favorite part about the whole process?
Probably going in when we were talking about colleges. What we do is we make a list of colleges that you're interested in applying to. And so she will help us like look them up and stuff. I remember going through that list and just like deciding which ones I really wanted to go to and which ones I didn't. And I think that was a really fun meeting because it was like finding out which colleges might be best for me.
Is there anything that CPC actually made you learn about yourself?
Yes, it helped me understand, like, actually going through these like college applications and everything. It's really interesting. It helps you when you're writing these personalized stories and stuff. It kind of helps you like reflect about who you are as a person, and so that was really neat to do the questions for the UC applications, and that was just a really cool thing to go through and finding out that, you know, I'm this kind of person, and then with juggling both the college prep work and the high school work, it's okay, I can multitask, I'm actually good, I can do this kind of stuff, so that's kind of a good college prep as well.
So you would say you feel a little more confident in the outlook of college?
Yes.
Okay. So, since you feel a little more confident now, what do you see yourself doing in the next few years?
Well, I intend to go to Western Carolina University and to get a bachelor's in forensic anthropology. And my goal during this time is to work hard, and also because of the tools that I've gotten now, I'll still be able to use them in college. So like for scholarships, I intend to keep applying to scholarships using FAFSA and CAPEX, even though I'll be in maybe like my sophomore year of college. So with these tools, I can still keep using them.
So in the yesteryear, what is it that you thought? What did you think? Before you got involved with CPC, what were you thinking? Like as far as college? As
far as college, I thought about a lot of stress. And it was just going to be kind of a huge headache. I remember going into my senior year thinking, how am I going to get through this? What could I possibly do that will like make it easy, make some kind of transition easy? Because I remember November is like the killer month for everyone because that's when all the deadlines are. And I just remember thinking as November approaches, what is there going to be for me that I can make this easy and less stressful?
And then luckily you heard from the word of mouth too. So what did they exactly say? So it was kind of funny. It was during summer vacation before my senior year, and we were talking. My mom is a single mom, and so we don't really have that many like financial. We need help sometimes. Like I need help going to college, and so she was talking to a friend, and she said, "I need help for Amelia finding scholarships. I need this help." And she's like, "Oh, well, that's funny. I actually have this card, and this person's name. Her name is RV." And she has a great program. My daughter did it, and she found so many scholarships. She's like, something you might want to look into. Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. They actually came right in the nick of time, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we're all out of time right now, so that's all the questions we have. Thank you very much.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hello, I'm Victor Venegas. I'm the marketing specialist for CPC, and I'm here with Kyren Vasquez, and he is the ACT, SAT, or future SAT, ACT tutor. So, what is the difference between the two?
Between the two tests?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm happy to be back up here, and it's a different feeling being the interviewee instead of the interviewer. However, there's two different, the tests are two different, obviously. There's the ACT and SAT, and besides from the spelling, the difference between the two is scoring. So ACT only goes up to 36.
Right.
Whereas the SAT goes up to 2,000, and then from there, 1,600, I'm sorry, it used to be like that, sorry, they switched it. However, the scoring is different, and the way that's structured, so ACT is more of a curriculum-based, so ACT is more of what you find in school. So a lot of students that are really proficient in school tend to like the ACT better because it's structured. They tell you what you need to study, and you study for it and you go in there, where the ACT is less curriculum-based, so it's everywhere. For example, the SAT can go from English to math, back to English, and then back to math, whereas the ACT is only going to be English, math, science. So you finish one subject at a time instead of having to jump from one subject to another.
Jump from one subject to another? What do you mean jump from one subject to the other?
So with the SAT, when you take it, it's English, and then math, and then English again, and then math. And the ACT, when you take it, it's just going to be math, and then you're done with math, and then English, and you're done with English.
Okay.
And then science, and you're just done with science.
Okay. So how are the classes?
The classes the way we set them up is we tend to make it really personalized. So instead of having a huge class like you might find at school, we tend to only take in 4 students or less, but most of the time we try to get 4 maximum. And in that, we do 30 hours, either for the ACT or the SAT class, and we tend to do 30 hours each. And then from there, we assign homework. So we say, okay, do pages 1 to 5, and then they come back, and we tend to ask them questions. So what did you mess up on? What did you feel like? We try to get an honest answer out of the students so we can help them. And if they don't understand something, then we break down the problems, or me or Natalie. Natalie would be the other SAT, ACT instructor, and we help them find solutions to those tests.
Oh, okay. So how long are these classes?
The classes are 2.5 hours or 2 hours. It depends. On the weekend, if we're doing a full-length SAT test or ACT, it tends to be 4 hours. Other than that, it's just and then for students that are usually worried about after-school programs, they're part of clubs or sports and whatnot, we tend to make them later on in the evening. So we do from 6 to 8:30 or 7 to 9:30, and we tend to try to focus around outside of their schedule, so they don't have to worry, should I go to this class or should I keep doing what I'm doing?
So it's like a little bit of a glimpse of college because you're working the schooling with their own personal schedule.
Yeah, well, the difference between our classes and theirs is that college tends to be a bigger class setting where we're just more focused on just 4 students.
Okay. So it's that, so that way the kid is not so.
Yeah, we don't want the students to feel that they're not being paying attention to. So if you have let's say we have a class with 10 students, it's harder for the student to feel that they're getting spoken to directly, or
Right.
It's harder for them to say, hey, I need to ask a question, but it's not going to get answered because the teacher's focusing on more students.
Right.
So if it's 4 students, they're going to be looking at us and thinking, okay, if I have a question, I know I can get it answered, or I'm talking to them and they don't feel like I'm just not keeping up a pace. Because if it's 4 students, we know to keep a pace. Whereas versus there's 10 and you have half the class doing, or majority of the class doing good and the majority of the class kind of not catching on,
Right.
then it's hard to maintain a balance between the two.
So what's the process to get in?
Process to get into a class?
Yeah.
You would find whichever class you want to do. So for example, if you're taking SAT and you feel the SAT is a better class for you, then you would go with the SAT class. We offer diagnostics if you've never taken the class, or even if you have taken a PSAT or PACT class, we offer diagnostics. And in those diagnostics, either myself or Natalie will determine if we think you're better with the SAT class or the ACT. And then from there, it's free. We recommend which class you should take, but it's free. Whatever test you want to take, you can take. And then from there, you would sign up for a class with either me or Natalie. And then from there, we make out a schedule. We say, okay, so the class is every day, Tuesdays and Thursdays, from 6 to 8:30. And then they just attend the classes.
How do you go about the diagnostics?
The diagnostics? So diagnostics is basically a full practice test. And if you sign up, let's say, for example, you signed up for the PSAT, we'll do a full 4-hour length PSAT class. And then from there, we get your scores. And then we say, okay, you scored, let's say, a 1450. And in the college world, a 1450 is usually the average that we try to strive for students to say, for colleges to pay attention to them. So if you get a 1450, we're going to recognize that, okay, you're pretty good at the SAT, let's push in that direction. Whereas if you were to get, let's say, an 18 or 19 on the ACT, that's not going to be as high as the PSAT, and we're going to try to push you to go in towards the PSAT rather than, or the SAT rather than the ACT.
Mm-hmm. What made you interested in doing this?
Well, I took the SAT in college, in high school, and the PSAT, and for me, I didn't study, I just went in, which is a really bad habit I think a lot of students have. So for me, I wanted to be the person to teach them so they can know, and coming from a person that's done that, and not too much older than the students that are going to be into the class anyway,
Yeah.
I feel like I can make it really individualized, and I feel like I can help make a difference in terms of these, because it's a good feeling when you get a college application and it tells you that you've been accepted to a college application, or you know that you did well on a test, and it just appeals to me because it just makes me feel good that I'm benefiting students and helping them get into whichever college they want to get into.
Right. So, would you say you're actually making a difference?
Yeah, I would say. If anytime you help a student and you help them learn more material and you help them because in our classes, a student will come in, let's say they get a 27 in their ACT, the first time they take it, or the PACT. When we leave, we want to make sure they're getting a 28 or a 29 or maybe even a 30, because we want them to show that they've made progress. And if they don't make progress, then we weren't doing our job. But at the same time, it's also there's also responsibility on the student to do the homework assignments that we offer and for them to attend every class.
Yeah. So what happens if a student isn't necessarily making any progress?
Well, in that case, we do individualized tutoring. So let's say a student did really well in the English and math section of the ACT, but they did poorly on the science portion. We will offer an individualized tutoring if they want to take it, and then we help them, about 2 to 4 hours individually, and we try to help them gain more experience and gain more knowledge on it. So when they do take it again, they'll do a lot better.
Okay. So the individualized tutoring, what's the process for that?
Well, it's the same thing as them registering for a class. They'll say, we'll offer it if we notice that they didn't do well or we notice that they're lagging behind, and after they take the test, we'll say, we do offer individualized tutoring. That's an option for you. And then if they decide to pursue that, then they would either contact me or Natalie, and then we'll work out some type of schedule in order to help them.
So is it like a classroom setting? I know it's only 4 students per tutor, but how do you teach them?
The personalized or the class?
The class.
The class, we have a whiteboard or a chalkboard, and in there we just teach them. So we'll say, okay, you guys had issues with problem 20, and then we work out the whole problem. And then also we know the ins and outs of the test. So most of the classes, for example, I'll give you an example. The ACT is a lot different than people think. ACT is not designed to be finished. So in the class, we try to train students differently than they learned in high school, because when you take a test in high school, it's all about finishing it and completing the whole thing. In ACT, it's doing as much as you can, but answering them all efficiently and accurately. And we try to change their mindset when they go in there to focus more on that instead of trying to do their old high school mentality.
Okay, so how is it for a student if it's the first day of class?
The first day of class.
What is to be expected?
Well, the first day of class is they're going to get a lot of information handed on them, and then the first day of class is more we're letting them know this is how you're going to have to change your mindset, and this is what's going to have to happen. And if it doesn't, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to do this ACT test. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, since the ACT isn't designed to be finished, when students come in, they don't understand that. Most of the time they can't grasp the concept because it's not something they learned. For the past 12 years that I've been going to school, it's completely different. It's you finish the test and you turn it in. But with the ACT, like I said, it's not designed to be like that. So it's just a matter of trying to initiate that change in their mindset.
So what are the rates for tutoring?
The rates for tutoring?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the rates of tutoring right now we're focusing on that right now as we're making the schedule. So we haven't completely made the schedule yet in terms of, we're working on the schedule right now for ACT and SAT tutoring, but it's not finalized. And as far as the personal tutoring, we're working on that. But for the classes, it's 700 right now.
Okay.
Or 800. Okay. Sorry, 800.
Okay.
And we did, and a side note for that, for the classes they're 800, and we didn't change the price. So before we only used to offer $25 hours, of class time, but now we bumped it up to 30, and it's still the same rate.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So, for a student, would you say that they are actually very content with being in the class? How is it? Like, are they there like being bored, or are they actually having a good time? How is the class?
Like I said, it's really personalized, so a student doesn't feel left out. So there's no student that's going to feel, oh, I'm too advanced for this, or I feel too high for it. Most of the time when we do it, and if we feel like the class is advancing, then obviously we'll push more effort. But for the most part, nobody's going to feel left out. Nobody's going to feel bored. Everyone's going to feel like they're going there, because you got to realize they're paying for the class, so they're not going to try to slack off. They're going to want to push themselves.
Actually want to work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of back and forth in the class?
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth. Anytime a student wants to ask a question, they can just raise their hand, and then we'll answer it right there. It's not like I say, okay, hold your questions to the end. It's just, if they have a question, I'm going to try to answer it as best as I can. And I try to be transparent. So if I don't know the answer to something, I'm not going to lie and say, oh, I know the answer. I'm going to tell them I'll get back to you, or the next time we meet, I'll for sure have an answer for you, because I don't want them to feel that I'm lying to them, or I don't want to pretend that I know everything when I don't.
So tell me how scoring is determined.
For both tests?
For SAT and then ACT.
Well, it's broken down into 3 parts. So the ACT is broken into 3 separate sections. So you have the science, the math, and the English. And in each one of those, they're all broken into their own separate scores. And the SAT has 4 different. So there's a math portion without a calculator, and a math portion with a calculator, and then there's an English section, and there's 2 English sections. But all of those are scored separately. And then when you do that, you add up the score, and then you have a I forgot the name. You have the composite score, and then you have like the actual score. Uh-huh. But in terms of us grading them and determining, if an ACT test is better for them than SAT, we have our own table chart that we created ourselves based on our own research on that lets you determine. So if somebody scores an 18 on the ACT, we can see the equivalent of that on the SAT, and then then that's how we determine if they should do the SAT or they should do the ACT in scoring.
Okay. So as far as testing, what is the final test? How do you go about that when it's the final day?
When we first start the test, we like to do a practice test. So if it's the ACT or the SAT, we like to do a full practice test before then, and then we use that as a starting ground. So we say this is where you guys are at, and then from there we go through the whole class process, and in the end we do another full length test. That way they can see their progress, and then that way they can say, okay, I got a 20 in the first test, but now I'm up to a 22 at the end. And then that way, when they go into the actual test, they'll feel more confident and they'll realize that they did make a change. When we do 2 full tests, sorry. But in those, we mark their progress, and then we show them, and then that way they know their progress as well.
Okay, you say that no student is actually left behind, right?
Yeah.
So what about the case where one student is doing not as efficient as another student?
That's when we offer the individualized or the privatized tutoring.
Okay. Well. Okay. So, how do you think this CPC? How do you think College Prep Consultants is actually doing in terms of making a difference for everyone?
Overall, or just the
overall?
Overall. Well, we take a lot of students. As Arvi mentioned in the beginning, there wasn't a lot of students because it was only her by herself.
Mm-hmm.
But now, since our staff has grown, we're able to take in more students. And if you look at the reviews that we have on Google, they're all 5 stars. So we try our best to make sure that there are no students, or families for that matter, that feel left out or feel that they've been wronged or anything. And in the rare case that it ever does, it hasn't, but if it ever does, RV, myself, anyone up there, we will try to talk to them and let them know, if we're not meeting standards, what can we do to raise that? And then we try for those goals. So we don't make promises we can't keep in the company, essentially.
So how does a parent go about trying to consult with you or RV?
They would there's the website. If you guys look right there, there's a website, there's a phone number. They can contact her. They can do that. They can email any one of us. They can get a card, and then once they do, then we set up a consultation. We'll say, okay,
need a new phone?
You get the free,
Have a cracked
the first consultation
screen?
is always free. So we say we can meet with you on Saturday at this time, and then they'll come in, and then we meet with them, and we go over everything we do.
Okay. So tell me the process of the consultation.
The process of the consultation is just a brief rundown, or basically what RV did in the beginning of the interview, where she explained the whole company. We let them know, okay, we help with financial aid, we do testing, we do scholarships, we have the whole package, and we just in detail explain what each one of those does. So that way when the parents and the student leave, they don't feel like we left anything out, and they feel like, okay, we can make a sure decision right now. We don't have to come back for another consultation because we got all the info we need.
All the information. And if a parent wants more information, all they have to do is just contact.
Yeah, they can contact they can contact either her or myself.
Okay. And the process of getting into ACT, SAT?
It's the same thing. So when we do the consultations, we throw it out there and we offer it. If they have
everything is all just run down at once.
Yeah. So in the beginning, we'll offer them. We'll say, okay, we do offer classes. Then when we're done with the schedule, we show them the schedule, and they'll say, okay, we're taking a class. We're going to be taking the test in October. So we'll say, okay, we have a class the previous, which would be September, and we'll say you can pay. We'll offer. We tell them the rates, we tell them everything, and then it's a matter of them signing up and then just attending the class.
Okay. So say I have a student or a son who I want to take this class. Why would I trust you? What is your credentials?
Okay. Well, if I'm going to start with Natalie. Natalie did 10 years at the Princeton Review, and she did that, and she's continued to be an SAT and ACT instructor.
And she's the main instructor, right?
Yeah, and then she's training me, and I've done a lot of privatized tutoring.
Correct.
And I've also done tutoring at Fresno City College and whatnot. So in that regards, I have that type of credentials, and I'm being trained by Natalie. So
correct.
Yeah.
And she has all the credit. That's correct.
And she has a master's degree, and I'm currently a semester away from getting my bachelor's.
Brilliant. Okay, so those are all the questions we have. Thank you very much.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hello, my name is Kyren Vasquez. Third time's a charm, I'm back up here. And today I'm with Ayla, another student who went through CPC and the process. And I'm going to ask her a few questions so everybody can get a more detailed explanation on how the company works. So Ayla, what made you choose CPC?
Well, one of my mom's friends went through this process, and she said that it was very helpful, and her son ended up going to UC Berkeley, and that was his dream school. So my mom was like, okay, let's meet with the CPC and see how they work and what they offer, and we went for our first consultation, and it clicked. It definitely did. That she offered a lot of resources, and it was we really didn't know a lot about how to go through the college process and what exactly each college like looks at and how to write essays, and we really needed some guidance, and so we ended up choosing CPC.
So, during the process of CPC, how did you feel? I know we make timelines for students, so how did you feel going through that whole process?
Well, I started CPC at the end of my freshman year, and so I had a lot of time until my senior year and junior year where I would get ready for college. So it started off as that RV introduced different volunteer opportunities to get started to build my resume for college, and so she offered volunteer opportunities and college classes at Clovis Community, and through that in sophomore year and then junior year, and in the summertime she also offered different conferences that I could go to, and I did attend those, and through that was very helpful during those 2 years. And then when I hit junior year and senior year, then started the ACT prep, and then looking at different colleges and writing essays. So yeah.
So you mentioned volunteer work. Where exactly did you volunteer? And getting into the volunteer, our services providing you that. How did all that work? Did you like it?
I definitely did. It was definitely volunteer that I wanted to do. So I volunteered at the Fresno Chaffee Zoo. I was a team leader and a junior counselor there, and I also volunteer at St. Agnes every other Sunday as in the ICU unit. So before, I didn't even know Fresno Chaffee Zoo could even offer any volunteer work, but through RV, she sent me the application and said, fill this out and we can drop it off and you can start volunteering during the summer. And so I did that my sophomore year and junior year, and that really got started my hours of volunteering and things that I could be doing within the community. And also I did St. Agnes, and I did, and RV provided that application as well, so I filled that out and then volunteered there too.
So doing these volunteer works, they helped you reinforce what you wanted to do, or did you come in saying, my major is so-and-so, but you're not specific yet?
Definitely. So
I'm sorry, would you be able to mention your major? I totally forgot to mention at the beginning.
I am going to be majoring in social work, and that actually is why the volunteer definitely helped me do that, because before going in I really wanted just to do bio, but it was mostly that my parents wanted me to do bio and then go on to become a doctor and such. But I actually really loved helping people and volunteering, and RV provided different volunteer opportunities, and that really helped me understand what I wanted to do, and so now I am going to be majoring in social work, and it makes sense too.
So would you be able to tell us where you got accepted to and the process of getting into the school that you got into?
So I got into New York University, and I'll be majoring in social work. I got into the Silver School Social Work there, and it's a small school too. And so the whole process was that I had a list of schools that I wanted to go to, and then RV also had a list where those are the schools that I have a higher chance of getting into as well. And so then we looked over both lists and created a new list of where I had schools where I wanted to go, but I also had a high chance of getting in. So there were some reach schools, there were some safety schools, and some in-between schools. And so from there, then we went to the application process, and we went step by step, actually, that she helped me fill out each of the state applications, and through the UC applications she walked me through each of them, and then the essays as well. I wrote all the essays and then sent them over a Google Doc, and she corrected all of them and sent them back fairly quickly, and then I would correct them again, and it just keeps cycling like that. Also, she helped a lot with the Common App as well, because the Common App has supplements, and that was one for NYU that I had to do the Common App for that, and that was more difficult because they were more difficult questions, and but CPC helped a lot with going through the entire process, and yep.
So you said that you did ACT prep?
I did.
Did you go through one of our classes or an outside class?
I actually went through the class and individualized tutoring.
Okay, would you be able to provide us a more detailed explanation to that?
Totally. Okay, so I took a diagnostic test because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to take the ACT or the SAT, and from that I saw that I would do better at the ACT, so I decided to focus on that test. And first time I took the test, I went in just taking it, and then from there I realized that I wanted more help to get a higher score. So I did the class. So from the class, I had 4 other students, and it was equally, the tutoring was very well, but for me, I wanted more individualized, so they offered tutoring sessions. So I did that, and that was in the summer of my junior year, and they provided, so every single week, so we created a whole schedule, because for me, I had difficulty with the time on the ACT and making sure I was doing the questions correctly. And so they worked with my schedule, and then I would take a practice test actually every week, and so I could get a feel for the test and used to the test. And by the end of December, I took my last test, and I was pretty satisfied with my results.
Would you be able to tell us how satisfied overall you were with everything the company offered you?
It went beyond my expectations. They helped with every single aspect of anything college related. I believe that definitely like a high school counselor wouldn't have been able to provide me all this information, these volunteer opportunities, all this information, and make sure all at the same time that I was getting counseling as well, and providing information and counseling for my parents as well too.
Well, just to get a juxtaposed position, what were your expectations coming in to the company versus how you felt leaving?
So coming into the company, I thought that I wasn't going to be doing as much in the first couple years. It was just going to be more heavy in like my senior year, that they were only really going to help me with my essays and application. But that was definitely that was just a small portion of what they did. Every single summer, I got a reading list of different books that I should read over the summer to keep up my reading, or these are different volunteer opportunities. Here's to do different classes, and it was just all in all, it was a really good experience, and it was a lot of information.
Would you recommend CPC to another student or another family, and if so, why? What made CPC stand out in your eyes?
Definitely just the results that you can see from people that have gone through. It's that you can see that they get into the top schools and they get into where they want to go, and you can see that they look at what you want to do, but also just everything in general. They did a lot. It was just very helpful.
And was your family satisfied?
Very satisfied. NYU was actually my dream school.
Oh, nice.
And they were so happy that I ended up getting in, and this was definitely one of my reach schools actually too. And it was just a blessing that I got it, and it was all because of the different volunteer work that I did, and the college classes and everything.
Well, it sounds like overall we have a very satisfied customer, and we're going to conclude this interview, and we wish her nothing but the best in her adventure in NYU. Thank you.
CentralValleyTalk.com